everybody, it's Allison. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I appreciate you being here with me. Today I wanted to play with the Spellbinders monthly kits one more time, and I thought I would use some brand new tools from Spellbinders to do that. So here are the projects that I made for today, and oh my gosh, I still just am in love with these May kits, the large die and the small die kit. So first, let's take a look at some new tools that Spellbinders has. These are 3-in-1 punches, and there are two different kinds that they are offering. I'm going to open the first one, and you'll see on the back of the box it has instructions on how to use and just a little bit more information. So that first one on the left is tags, and this one is banners, or some people call them flags. And these punches come in 3 widths, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and 2.5 inches. And so you can use either of any of those 3 widths in these punches. And you can see they're pretty sizable punches, and they're pretty heavy duty. So there's a view of the bottom. And another tool that just came out. This is the Guillotine paper trimmer. Now, I know some people call it Guillotine. I call it Guillotine. I just can't say Guillotine. But you call it whatever you want. It's a paper trimmer. And you can see at the bottom of the package, it has an 8.5 inch cutting length and a 6.25 inch cutting width. And by the way, these tools just came out the other day on the Spellbinders website. Now, if you turn the package over, there's some little fun facts, like it has rubberized feet, a finger guard, which is great. The grid has 1/4 inch markings, and the top and the bottom both have inch and centimeter measurements. And one of the features that I really love is it has a locking handle. So I'm going to show you that right here. So here I was just trying to lift it, and you'll see this little pin kind of at the bottom, and it just easily locks into place. So it cuts just fine when it's not locked, and then you just simply put that pin in and it's locked. And that's great if you have kids around the house. There's also this notch at the top, kind of like a hole. And I've been hanging this just on a little hook. So you can store it vertically if you don't have the desk space. And then there's the finger guard, that plastic piece. And there I'm just showing you the 1/4 inch measurements on there. So I've been enjoying this paper trimmer. And again, it said it had an 8.5 inch length cutting. So this is a letter sized piece of paper, which is 8.5 inches. And I'm lining this piece of paper up with the 6 inch mark. Now remember, these punches have 3 different widths that you can use. So I'm using this 6 inch piece of paper, and right now I'm lining it up at the 4.5 inch mark, and that will give me my 1.5 inch piece, because 6 minus 4.5 is 1.5. And now I'm going to slide it over to the 2.5 measure mark, and that will give me my other 2 pieces of 2.5 inches and 2 inches. And I find the cutting mechanism on this paper trimmer to be very smooth. I'm really happy with it. And it's very lightweight, the paper trimmer. So let's see how this works. So you just slide the paper all the way in and punch down. And there's the first tag. And there's little notches that you see that take the different width paper. So you just slide it into the appropriate notch. And voila, now you have 3 different tags, and you'll see at the top, each of the different widths has a different cutout design. Now, the great thing about a punch is that you can make these tags whatever length you want. So here I am just trimming this little tag down. And another tool that I have is an older tool. Well, older, maybe it came out earlier this year or maybe late last year, but it's this little 1-2 punch. This is the corner rounder and notch from Spellbinders. And I'm going to use the corner rounder on this little tag. And it's just really easy to slip the corners in. And I've used this on cards to make a rounded card panel. But look at how much more finished the tag looks. All right, so here is the 3-in-1 banner punch, and same deal, same different widths. So I've already cut my paper to the appropriate widths, and I'm just sliding them into the notches, and here are the different flags. Now these were all cut at the same length, and you'll see you can stack them in numerous ways. So if you cut your paper to the same length and then punch them, they stack kind of horizontally, and this would have been easier to see if I used different pieces of paper. I'm sorry, different colors of paper. But so you can stack them horizontally, or like this blue piece was a different length. So you can see how that would layer with the same width banner. And you can do all sorts of colors at all different lengths and make a pretty cool design. And here I've cut another piece at this width for you to see. And then you can offset them. There's lots of ways to stack these and use them on cards. All right, so here I'm just testing the paper trimmer to see how well it trims. And again, it's very light. The handle is very light to lift and operate. And you'll see these tiny little thin, very straight little pieces that I got. So that to me is the sign of a good trimmer, when you can get these very teeny little straight pieces. All right, let's move on to some projects. And I'm going to start with some paper from the new Bayfair collection. Again, it's Spellbinders. And there's little sailboats, and this bird paper is really pretty. And I'm just flipping through here pretty quick. Here's some pink stripe paper that I'll be using on a couple of my projects. And there's some foiled paper in there as well. All right, so I'm just going to show you a little trick that you can do with any pattern paper, and that is change the color tone. For my project, and actually this is a project I'm going to share at a later time, I didn't want the royal blue paper. I wanted it to be more teal. So you can see the difference there. And it also not only changed the color tone, but it knocked down some of the contrast in the background. So now it's more tone on tone. And by the way, that was Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide that I was using. And now for this piece, I'm going to use some dye ink, which is more translucent than oxides. So it's really going to mainly tint the white part of this pattern paper. And I just want to lessen the contrast, again, between the words and the background. So you can do this with any pattern paper, and it really changes it up. So for my first card, you can see how dark I got that. I think I actually may have come in with some worn lipstick distress ink to get it even darker. And you'll see that I used that banner punch. This was the 2.5-inch width, the widest width. And these are pieces from the May large die of the month. So we have these leaves and the flamingo. And I like how these leaves are overlapping the top and bottom of this banner. So I'm just kind of playing around, making sure my banner is centered and how the leaves will come to the edges of the card base. And now that I finally like the placement, I'm just going to temporarily tape these pieces together so that the leaves don't move and everything's like I want it. And then I'm going to just flip it over. So once I have it flipped over, and there's this little piece sticking out at the bottom of the banner. I'm just going to snip that off. All right, so now I'm going to turn the whole thing over as one piece. And I want to pop this up a little bit on foam tape. So I have my Altenew foam tape. And now I can just apply foam tape to the whole thing, and it's it's going to keep the leaves in place on the back of that banner. And so now I can attach it to the card base, and I'm doing it upside down just so I can make sure I line that banner up with the edge of the card base. This is actually a card panel. This isn't the card base yet. So there we go. Now for the flamingo, I've showed you this before. I'm coloring the flamingo's eye with black marker. I had already cut it out of pink, so I'm not going to cut another one out of black. I'm just going to color it with my black marker. And I'm stacking two flamingos together. So right now I'm putting double-sided tape over the eye area of the bottom flamingo. And that way when I glue the two layers together, that double-sided tape is peeking through the eye, so I can just stick the black eye in there and it will stay in place because, again, that was double-sided tape. All right, so now I've turned my flamingo over and I'm just pushing on these little notches from the back. You see how those little notches pop out? And it really creates the look of dimension in those feathers. I really like that about this die. All right, so now I'm going to just do a little bit of simple ink blending. And I think this is Worn Lipstick Distress ink. So once I add a little bit of blending to the bottom of the flamingo and a little bit under the chin or whatever you want to call it, I'm taking my inexpensive little ink dauber and I'm just scraping some color against the bottom of those flaps. And here we go. Here is the finished card. And I added some flowers. I can't remember if this particular flower is from the large or small die of the month kit, but it's from one of those. And I added a hot foiled sentiment. I'll have all the supplies linked below. And I added my panel to a black card base, but I only let the sides show. All right, I had some leftover paper, so I cut a tag with that other punch, the tag punch. And you'll see that I use that corner rounder punch at the bottom. And those sweet little flowers are from the new layered anemone die set. I think those came out this past week on Spellbinders. And look at this sweet little bookmark. I don't normally make bookmarks, but how cute is this? You'll recognize the parrot from the small die of the month kit. I just love him. And I cut that pink striped paper into a 1.5 inch strip and use that tag punch. And again, you can see how you can do whatever length you want. Now I used a sentiment from an old MFT, My Favorite Things stamp. And I thought the repeat was kind of funny because it's a parrot, right? Read, relax, repeat. And I just think this bookmark is so sweet. Now here's another bookmark because I had to use the toucan, right? And so the foliage is all from this green leaf is from the large die. The flowers I think are from the small die. And that word nerd sentiment is from a waffle flower sub-sentiment set. They're ready to go strips. You just tear them off and stick them on your project. All right, here is a sneak to a card that I'm going to maybe be sharing tomorrow. This features several other products from the new Bayfair collection, just like the paper that I used. And you'll see that paper that I was coloring at the beginning when I was using that teal or the peacock feathers distress oxide. That's the paper that you see in the back of this card. So stay tuned tomorrow where I will hopefully have that video ready. I really appreciate you joining me today. Again, all of the supplies are linked below. I will also have a blog post with more pictures and details that will be linked below. And that is it for me today. Again, thanks for joining me. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.